Today, I'm visiting the beautiful Dean's Court, a Georgian country house in the center of the historic market town of Wimborne in Dorset. This is a house with monastic roots dating back to the 8th century. I'll be delving into the family archives with William and Ally Hanham, whose family has lived here for nearly 500 years. This is a historic home brimming with fascinating stories to tell.
This is early 8th century. 705 AD was the date that the monastery was founded.
This is the sort of classic 1930s.
I'm left speechless by the beauty of the decoration and the creativity of the women who have lived here, past and present. I can't resist lending a hand as a shepherdess.
I got a little bit left. I want to give it to you. Come on.
And I wade in to give fly fishing a whirl.
Lovely.
And fish upstream.
Oh. That would make sense. When I married into the British aristocracy, it was the start of a wonderfully exciting journey. But it was also a little daunting. I became a Viscountess, and for an American girl from a small town outside Chicago, that was quite a shock.
I live with my husband Luke, heir to the Earl of Sandwich, and our family at Mapperton House in Dorset.
Living in a place like this is a joy, but also a challenge. And every day we're aware that we're preserving a very special part of Britain's heritage. Mapperton has opened up an extraordinary new world for me, and I can't wait to share it with you all.
So if you love castles and manors and stately homes as much as I do, please join this American Viscountess as I journey into the British countryside in search of some of Britain's finest historic houses.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great.
So nice to finally be here.
Oh, welcome to Dean's Court. It's good to have you here.
So nice, Ally. I've been wanting, as you know, I've been wanting to come here.
I know.
Because you are practically neighbors.
I know. 45 minutes away.
Exactly.
Yeah, come down here. William's here. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Hello. Good. How are you? So nice to see you. And oh my goodness.
Oh, okay, so this is
a baby.
A baby.
So exciting.
This is Lottie.
Hello.
And my daughter, and Dan, her husband, and baby Maisie.
Hi.
They've been living with us for 18 months.
Look at that.
Yeah.
At the beginning of COVID and never left.
And never left. Well, I can't wait to learn more about the history of Dean's Court, because just walking up here, it's just extraordinary. I mean,
Did you get a sense when you walked in of sort of tranquility and an oasis of calm?
absolutely. That's what I found was so extraordinary, because all of a sudden I arrive here, and knowing that steps away is Wimborne, and it's tranquil, it's beautiful, it's serene.
What this goes back to, I like to think, is that there was a monastery here a very long time ago. I think that sense, that feeling of sort of almost spiritual tranquility still pervades the gardens here. I'm glad you picked up.
Yeah, no, I
Absolutely.
absolutely did. But the history of Dean's Court, I know that it dates, it's 8th century. Yeah, so that's originally 8th century, but then it's been added on.
Yeah. So there's an 8th century house buried in the core of the building, which we'll show you later. But there's a Georgian wrap around the sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's Georgian. And when did you actually take over the running of Dean's Court?
About 12, 13 years ago, I started coming down from London to take over. But we really didn't move in until,
about
10 or 11 years?
10 or 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sort of We tried, as probably a lot of people do at the beginning, to keep our businesses going.
Yeah.
I had an antique business in Gloucestershire, William had an art business in London, but within a few years we realised this was not going to be possible, so actually we just moved in and start our own businesses here.
Right, because when you move into these historic houses, they become your business. I mean, that's what's happened now. That's what's changed so much over the past really 50 years. So this is your business, and then as far as renovations, because I know what it's like living in these historic houses, it's constant repairing and restoring. What have you both done since you moved in 10 years ago?
Well, we put 2 new bathrooms in it.
And the very first central heating. We put a few radiators in downstairs, but before that it was just fires or you froze. That was
fires, you froze, and there was only one place to use a bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. People used to arrive for the weekend.
Typical.
And they would literally, in the winter, not take their coats off. We've got some rooms that were redecorated in the 1930s, which we'll show you, and actually we won't change them.
Great.
And that's a very important feature, I think, of looking after a house like this. You want to keep it up to date. You want to keep it as a modern, livable in home.
Yes.
But every time we do a makeover in one room, we try to keep a few elements of the previous generations so that the story and the continuity works.
And then you get that layered look, which is what we all absolutely love about all these historic houses.
Yeah, because it's like you want to be able to walk into a room that has your touch, your legacy in it, but also at the same time, it's combining everybody else who's been in that room before you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So making sure all those elements stay within the room, but you're adding into that as well for future generations.
I feel you've always got to keep adding, or else they literally don't move forward, do they? And then they get stuck in the.
And you're living in a museum.
You're living in a museum. Yes, you've got to constantly keep changing them a little bit.
This is what I really like about these historic houses that are still privately owned, lived in by the families, because they're not museums.
No.
We're continuing to evolve, and we're continuing to add on, and we're continuing to really add to the stories that only we can tell when we have people come for weddings, come to the shop, come to the restaurant. And that's what makes these historic houses so much more interesting in my mind to come and visit and see, because it is living history. I mean, this really is living heritage, living history right here.
Absolutely. And this house is a lovely example of that, because every single moment in English history for the last 1,300 years has left an imprint, particularly in the last 500 years.
I'd love to go see some more.
Great. Shall we do that?
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect. You lead the way.
Right.
So I can really start to tell now the difference between what you've done with this paint and then this.
Yeah, these rather startling colours. These are the old original colours which defined the difference between the staff quarters of the house and the non-staff quarters. We mentioned the earliest part of the house, and these 2 rooms in here and in there formed the Saxon part of the house. And you can see that it's actually built of very thick masonry. Those 2 arches over there were punched through in 1725. But this was the hall house. But you've got to use a lot of imagination, because you'd have probably had a hearth in the middle of the floor here with a hole in the roof to let the smoke out. And there'd have probably been straw on the floor, dogs, livestock in the undercroft underneath to keep the place warm. But it would have been very busy, because this was the beating heart of the Saxon monastery.
It's wonderful.
And it was built by a very royal person called Cuthberga. She was the sister of the King of Wessex, and she was the wife or the consort of the King of Northumbria. And that marriage sealed an alliance between Wessex and Northumbria. But this was where she lived. So this was the royal palace of Wimborne. And her quarters would have been in what we call the cellar next door there. But this is where the sort of general day-to-day business of the administration of the monastery went on.
So remind me again, what century am I literally standing in right now?
This is early 8th century. 705 AD was the date that the monastery was founded, and we think that this house was built at the same time. So yeah, 1,300 years people have been living and working in this house.
It's incredible.
It is. So that's the first 800 years.
Right.
Do you want to go and check out the next 500 years?
Yeah, because
Should we have a look at that, when my family became involved?
Right, so even, I mean, here I am 1,300 years, but also it's quite a feat that this has been in your family for nearly 500 years.
Yeah, not a lot of families who can say that.
Right.
Yeah.
William is the 13th baronet to live at Dean's Court. Generations of his ancestors look out from the walls, reminding us of the previous lives lived here. It was in the mid-16th century when the family first took up residence.
So that brings us to this character here, John Hanham, who was a MP for Poole, and he was one of the commissioners for Dorset. And when Henry VII died, Edward VI's government sent in the commissioners of Dorset to break up the church lands, of which it was still the property of the church.
So that was the end of the 800 years,
That was the end of the church's,
Right.
Ownership of the land. And he basically redistributed most of it to himself.
Right, because he was the MP, so they gave him the job and they said, right, you've got to...
Yeah, he did it all legally though, it was all above board. He was a very eminent lawyer in the Middle Temple in London, so he assigned himself a lease to start with, and then his son took over and bought the freehold.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But so when he saw this place, of course, he thought, well, I'm going to have this.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it suited him down to the ground. He was also looking for a wife at the same time, and in 1548, he picked out the richest heiress in Wimborne and married her. So this was a very good year for him indeed.
So this is, though, a Tudor painting.
This is a lovely, portrait. It's probably done in the year 1548, but it's by an Anglo-Flemish artist, we should say. We don't know who exactly. The closest painter is someone called Stephen van der Meulen, who did come to England, but a little bit later than this. But what it shows is a man presenting himself in a sort of mercantile style.
Right.
As a wealthy man, this is the whole point. The gloves that he presents are a sign of affluence. And of course the signet ring, which tells us about his family. But the ruff and the hat and the whole style of the painting just sort of shouts, I'm doing well, I'm wealthy, and I'm going places.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful painting, and it's probably the best one we've got in the house.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
But he would have paid that painter with his new wife's money.
Right.
But the sad thing is he didn't accord her the same high quality portrait as he did to himself.
Oh.
Here she is.
Oh yeah. There's a big difference.
There's a big divide, there's a big quality gap here. They're not even a pair because she doesn't face him, so this is a pendant. It's obviously done later than his own portrait, but he was very keen to establish himself at first with his own portrait, and I think this was an afterthought done by a much less expensive painter.
And what is she holding there? Gloves
She's
as
holding
well.
gloves as well.
Right, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
it was her money after all.
Okay.
But she's called Alice Orange.
Okay.
She's nothing to do with the Dutch House of Orange. This is before all that happened.
Okay, before.
So this is a French name. It was Alice de Orange.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But there you go.
It was the third baronet, Sir William Hanham, in the mid-18th century who transformed the layout and appearance of Dean's Court. The Saxon Great Hall was wrapped in a sequence of Georgian rooms, and the facade of the building we see today was added. Each generation adapts these historic homes to their taste, and the library was the first room William and Allie decorated when they moved in.
So this is the library.
Oh wow! I can see you've definitely redecorated in here. This is lovely paint color.
Yeah. This is the first room that Ali and I set about painting. The thing about this room was it was unbelievably dark when we came in here, because it was actually a very dark turquoise colour, but all the window surrounds and the door surrounds and the fireplace surround was all covered in this wood graining. This is actually just painted wood graining from the 1930s. So you can imagine with the bookshelves and everything, this place was just so gloomy. And what we did was try to drag the light in from outside. It's cheered the room up.
It's wonderful. And what do we have here then?
So this is a little group of objects which relate to an ancestor of mine called Captain John Hanham, who fought very bravely in the first Sikh wars in the Punjab, which were not very well known about these battles, but they were some of the bloodiest in British history. And here we have a letter that he wrote home in 1845 from his tent in the Punjab.
Battle is around, so he's fighting in sort of mid-1800s,
1840s, yeah.
1840s, okay.
These are the medals he got from the three main battles. And
so
while
he was quite a hero then.
He was a hero. He came home, quite decorated and, a heroic survivor.
Very decorated.
But he came back to England. He was posted to Preston in Lancashire. He married, he had a wife called Amy, who's a very interesting personality as well, but they were living up there, even though they had Dean's Court, and this was their home.
Ah, so this was his home.
Yeah.
He comes back after, and he's married,
Yeah.
but then they move away.
Being in the army, he had to go where he was posted. One day in 1861, he punished a very young 18-year-old Irish private very, very severely for a tiny little infraction. He'd sent him to get the names of some children that were bothering some of the staff. And he went out and he could only get one name because the children ran away. And he came back and reported this to Captain Hanham and the colonel, and they put the poor private on a charge. And that was a very nasty business in those days. You were constantly having to get up in the middle of the night and clean your kit, and you were humiliated by having to walk around the barracks and salute all the sentries.
Oh my God. So he was this 18-year-old Irish.
18-year-old Irish man, yeah.
Was really punished.
And he went and got his musket and he loaded it.
No.
Yeah, and he waited in the barracks, by a wall in the barracks, until Captain John Hanham and the colonel came walking across. And he took aim, he was a very good shot, and the bullet went through the colonel first of all, and then lodged in Captain Hanham. And the colonel died within a few hours, but Captain Hanham took 2 days to die, with his wife beside him, taking instructions about how to manage his estate after he'd gone.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, and she wrote very, very heavily about this afterwards, and we have a very long letter here.
No. Well, and it has obviously, you know, it's got the black border around it.
Yeah, that's the mourning.
The mourning,
when you wrote letters, when you were in mourning. That's
when you're in mourning.
Right. But in that letter, she describes how when he was dying, he actually forgave the private that had shot him, and he said, I hope to go in peace, and that includes the man, who's killed me.
And I can see even in here, because it says, "Dear children," but it says Monday, the 9th of September, 1861. We started a very happy and merry party. So she's really describing the day to her children in this letter.
Yeah, they wake up, it's a normal day. He goes off to work.
Can I touch this?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. She has so much to say, you can see
it.
She does,
yes, it's a long old letter. But she was a wonderful writer, his wife, Amy, and she wrote copiously about all sorts of other things. What you get from her writings, not this, but also other writings, is the incredible despair and grief that she felt at the murder of her husband. This wasn't just a marriage for financial reasons or anything. This was a real marriage of love, and she was absolutely destroyed by the death. And you'll see here, we have a little box which says, "The bullet that made me a widow."
No.
Amy Ursula Kyle, Hanham, those are her initials.
Which she has, this is the bullet.
This is the bullet that made me a widow, and there it is.
Did she write in?
Yes, and there she is written on the day that he died, this extraordinary sort of outpouring.
On thee their life blood lies, O fatal, cruel, O loved, O darling one. These are all exclamation points. How long must I there mourn? Make thou me strong at duty's call. Let duty's path be short. So she wants to die.
She wants to go off.
She wants to
go after him, yeah.
When his dear children know thy name, O call me from this world. Washed with my Savior's blood, let me be. Where he is, let me go.
After the trial of the Irish private, who was called McCaffrey, and it was sent to her by the local police, the police constable, and we've got the sort of letter that came with that as well. But the interesting thing about McCaffrey was that he was obviously sentenced to death, and he was publicly executed in January 1862 outside Preston jail. But it was the penultimate public hanging in the country. They stopped doing them soon after that.
Right, so he was hung.
He was hung, yeah, and in front of a crowd of 35,000, mainly Irish onlookers, who'd come out in disgust at the whole thing. They'd heard the story, and of course, there'd been the trial, and they were on his side. And they hated the British Army. All of these.
So the
35,000
35,000 that came out were actually on his side, on the Irishmen's side.
Because they were predominantly Irish. It was hugely written up by the press, particularly by the time we got to McCaffrey's execution in January. But this is four days after he died. His body is put on a train from Preston down to Wimborne. It arrives 8 hours late, so it's quite nice to know that that trains actually did not run on time in those days. And so the funeral, which was supposed to take place at midday, took place at night at 8 p.m. And they marched from Wimborne station to the cemetery, and 2,000 residents of Wimborne turned out to pay their respects.
How unbelievably heartbreaking, though, this story. I mean, heartbreaking on both levels. You know, you've got somebody who was murdered, and now you've got the widow who's absolutely beside herself, heartbroken. But then you have this 18-year-old Irish boy who was also executed.
And the press, when they wrote it up, said he looks like a child. He looked like a 12-year-old.
Oh, I can't even. I mean, that gives me chills. That gives me chills.
It's a sad story.
It's just very, very sad story.
Amy Hannam retreated to Dean's Court in deep mourning. Following Victorian social convention, she dressed in black and muted tones of gray and purple. Her room here is painted in the same color scheme.
So this is the mauve room.
It's stunning. I mean, it's really stunning. If you're in mourning, I would like to be in this room because there's something, even though you're in mourning, at least there's a little bit of cheerfulness here. Yeah,
and it's a nice calming colour, actually. I mean, even if it wasn't to do with mourning, it would still be quite an interesting scheme.
And so is this the original? I mean, it looks...
This isn't the original paint, that's just why it looks in quite good nick, because in the 1980s it was falling off, it was peeling, so my parents actually just replicated the exact colour scheme. So this is how it looks.
How extraordinary and wonderful for your parents to keep it as Amy had it.
Yeah.
That's what's so fascinating.
But this is a piece of social history, I think, which is really important to hang on to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very happy Buster's coming with us.
I know, he does actually love a visitor. He sort of tends to sort of attach himself to them, as if we don't give him enough love. So here we are coming to the kitchen garden.
Lovely.
Hidden behind protective walls, Dean's Court boasts the most glorious kitchen garden, just as it would have done 100 years ago. It provides fruit and vegetables for the family, but also for the wider community.
So Julie, come and meet James. Hi.
Hey Julie, how's it going?
James is totally in charge of just under 1 acre of kitchen garden.
It's a lot of kitchen garden, James.
It's a lot. I've got some fantastic volunteers, so yeah, definitely really helps.
James's green fingers ensure the kitchen garden is productive all year round.
So this kind of here is just all different
varieties
of beetroot.
Exactly.
And are they ready to come up?
Yeah. We could pull one up now.
Can
if
we
wanted.
pull one up?
Yeah.
So
basically, they're in little clumps.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is sort of twist one and then pull it out. So if you take, pick a nice big juicy one.
Okay. Yeah.
So then with that, and then you twist, and then sort of
so that's how you pull
it out, and then you get a nice.
It's beautiful.
Nice, lovely little beetroot.
And a big one. I'm looking for a big one.
Yeah, the biggest one in the bunch. So the smaller ones will keep growing. So in a couple of weeks' time, we can take the next one and the next one. So yeah, find a bunch.
That's
the
this
yellow
one looks
there.
lovely. I'll use this yellow one.
Yeah, do.
Okay, little twist. Okay. Oh my goodness.
There you go. Perfect.
Look at that.
It's beautiful.
Natural.
Oh, wow. I don't want to ask if I can take them home, but can
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
I can make a delicious
We've got enough.
beetroot salad.
Beetroot salad, yeah, I love it just roasted as well, and then tossed for a salad, just simple and.
Can I put these in your basket?
Yeah, we've got a basket. Yeah.
Wonderful. And then you've got here behind, you've got curly kale.
Yeah, so some different types of kale. So this is a red kale. So these have been here all season. So since the spring, which is now they look a bit unusual for.
Oh, I love the look of them.
Yeah, they're almost like trees, aren't they?
So these are ready to be.
Yeah. So this is all ready to go. So I can show you how. So you sort of pick the outer leaves. So again, it's like picking them like that.
Yeah.
like that. And then we leave a few at the top, so I'll probably take that one
Right.
that far, and then you've still got this lovely...
So this will then
this
grow
will just
later.
and then this will
grow.
be, and then just like the beetroots, they'll keep growing, and then
They'll
you'll
keep
be able
growing.
to take more. So
I
And
didn't know
hopefully
that.
keep growing all winter, won't they?
yeah, so these ones will probably finish, but we've got some other ones over there which went in the autumn, and then they'll go all the way through until the spring.
Well, do you need any help with anything?
Absolutely,
Any
yeah.
more help?
Yeah, 100%. There's
Yeah?
some stuff over here we could go and pick for sure.
And this soil, James, is particularly fantastic because it's completely organic, isn't it?
Yeah,
That-
absolutely. So yeah, so this is all-
Wonderful.
we do the no-dig system.
What is the no-dig system?
I'm glad you are. It's become very popular recently with small-scale gardeners.
Right.
Really championed by a guy, Charles Dowding, over in Somerset. And basically it's trying to mimic the natural processes and apply compost directly on top of the soil. There you go, you can probably
Okay.
give that a tug now. You might need both hands. There you go, well there
Okay.
you go. And then you can just
Shake
that
it
all
off. Okay. Wow.
This soil is particularly fantastic soil because this was the first kitchen garden in the country to be certified by the Soil Association. So it was William's mother, Jane Hanham, when she came here in 1973, turned it straight away over to an organic garden. So she was, a complete...
So she was a real pioneer.
Oh my goodness, a complete pioneer in the organic movement, and she was sort of mixed with the very, very early movers and shakers in the organic world.
That is very early, 1973.
1970, when what the rest of the world were doing in 1973, they didn't have a clue about.
No,
I mean,
we were fertilizing everything.
Fertilizing everything. Yeah, it's fantastic. So this soil is particularly amazing because it's probably been organic for longer than any other kitchen garden in England.
Really fantastic soil. I mean, and that's why I wanted to put a lot of it back.
Yeah.
We'll cut this off and it'll go in the compost anyway,
Yes.
and then it's coming back here, so it's not
Because
nothing's wasted. We
That's the whole thing,
compost
isn't
it.
it? Also, it's all about composting the whole time that James then puts back in
wonderful.
the...
I mean, that is
on the
what
kitchen.
it's about, giving back, and
Yeah.
and that is what it's giving back to the land,
Yeah.
and then the land giving to us, and it's just this wonderful, perfect cycle.
Closed loop system.
That's right.
100%.
That's what we want. This one's enormous,
This
that
one is
cauliflower.
enormous. Yeah, we can let you. Yeah, these are all cauliflowers growing up.
I have to watch you do it
I'll
first,
harvest
though.
one, and then you
Okay.
can harvest the big one.
The
How
big
about
one.
that?
Okay,
So
brilliant.
you're just going just underneath,
Yeah.
and then just use this as a serrated knife. So just like a bread knife, it will cut through,
Ah,
and then there you go.
wonderful.
So in there is a cauliflower. So we'll pick off these
Okay.
outer leaves.
But James, would you use the outer leaves?
Yeah, you can cook
Yeah,
with them.
I would use
not
them.
Not the biggest.
No,
outer
not
leaves,
Right,
that would be
you want the
quite
young
rough,
ones.
But
Yeah.
these younger ones inside, absolutely. So I was just picking them off to reveal.
Look at
Fabulous
cauliflower.
cauliflower.
that. Is, I'm just
Look at
gonna
that.
really be naughty here.
Yeah,
I don't even mind if I get some soil in my mouth, because now I know
it's
that
organic.
it's been organic since 1973.
Yeah.
So this is
Absolutely.
like the
It's all
best
the good
soil
stuff.
in all of England, is what I think.
100%.
That is delicious.
Right,
Okay.
so I'll give you that.
All right, this is a Whopper here.
Yeah, you've got a monster.
Okay.
That is a whopper.
Okay,
isn't it?
so I'm gonna go at the base.
That's it, perfect.
Okay.
Just like, slice of bread.
Okay. Yeah. How was that, James? Is that
Amazing,
all right?
that's brilliant, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hand you back that
Yeah,
knife.
perfect.
I'm gonna pull these away, and it's the big reveal right here.
Perfect, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Look at this glorious cauliflower.
Yeah. So we'll
Okay,
roast that up.
incredible.
It'll be delicious.
Certainly will. I just have to have a little bit of that
The
right here.
goodness, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, organic, fresh,
Best
raw
cauliflower I've ever had.
Cauliflower.
James uses the organic ingredients from the kitchen garden in his cooking, conjuring up the most delicious recipes.
You're cooking a curry. I'd love to come and help you.
Amazing.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Any help's great.
So should I meet you later?
Yeah, I'll grab the veg together and we'll meet over there
Okay.
shortly.
Oh my gosh, brilliant. Thank you, James. This has been eye-opening, fantastic.
Beyond the kitchen garden, William is introducing me to some inquisitive members of the family.
All right, wait. So, William, just an FYI, I have a fear of cows. Now, I know that goats aren't the same as cows, but should I be fearful?
Right. Come on, all down, dude. Come on, come on.
Okay. Okay, facing my fear of goats. I just don't want to really leave here with another phobia of another animal, goats. Okay. Woo! Okay. Okay, yes. You keep hold of the food.
You'll knock her out of the
Do you have to be super quick at this?
She'll come over here.
Okay. Okay, and then we stand
Heel
back.
wolf is down.
And then what happens?
And then you'll come and butt her out of the way.
No. No.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wait, look at.
Yeah.
Okay. So these two goats, you have goats. Orlando,
Yeah.
Is-
Who's huge. He's a Nubian goat.
right?
And Pringle's, what is she? Something else. She might be Nubian as well. But some people say that he's the biggest goat they've ever seen.
Right.
And what we've done, we've brought them on here so that they can clear out all this trashy, dried grass here that didn't get mown when we took hay, because there are a lot of earthworks here and it was difficult for the tractor. So before
Right.
we move the sheep on for the winter, I want the goats to clear out all this stuff, and they're already making a good start on it. And then they go around and they also clear the hedges.
Oh, so they're useful.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
useful goats.
Oh, they have a
Okay,
purpose.
they have a purpose.
They're not just pets.
Right. Well, with the names like Orlando and Pringle, I thought maybe they're your pet goats. Look at this. Okay. There.
Okay.
Pringle's
Sorry,
like,
Pringle.
give me
That's it.
some more.
it.
Oh dear.
No.
Oh dear. Sorry, Pringle. Okay. Oh my goodness! Orlando literally like headbutted Pringle out of the way.
He's a brute.
That was extraordinary.
Complete brute.
So what happens when you finish with all the feed? Like what happened? Will they
Well, then
go
they
after
just
you
off, yeah.
next?
They don't really need feeding. We just do it so that we keep them under control, and when we want to collect them up and take them somewhere else, with
Right.
their little house, they'll come running.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So that was it.
yeah. But they're obsessed
Okay.
with food. They think about nothing other than eating,
Okay.
and it's what they live for.
But this helps me the next time
Yeah.
I encounter goat. I'm just going to make sure that I've got some feed with me. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
I've got to get out of here.
Orlando and Pringle aren't the only ones mowing the meadows here on the estate. A flock of 35 sheep graze happily under the watchful eye of shepherdess Louise Marshall.
It's just so wonderful to wander around Dean's Court. And then, of course, I'm wandering and I find you and I find your sheep.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I think of England, I always think of England, green. But of course, then I see, all around England, you see sheep grazing. But for me, in one sense, it kind of saddens me because I know that the sheep that are grazing are usually going to be on people's plates. But that's not the case with yours, is that right?
No, they did start off as a breeding flock, but I rapidly changed my mind and they've become a rescue sanctuary now. So now I rescue sheep everywhere.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
But how do you rescue them? Are you finding them that they've been lost or?
No, sometimes the vet will call me and say there's a lamb here that's going to be destroyed because the farmer doesn't want to invest the time or the money in them. Some people, they have them as pets and they've died and they need new homes or they've moved on or
Right.
sometimes they're welfare cases that need to
Right.
be come somewhere
So
safe.
you kind of rescue the lost sheep.
Yeah. The unwanted,
The
unloved.
unwanted.
There you go, there's their feed. They have,
Okay.
it's called sheep nuts.
Yep.
So it's all sorts of molasses and vegetables all put into a nice little cake for them. And they
So-
love them. Yeah.
Right. So
Love
this
them.
is like real proper
Nutrition,
right
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
it's always a supplement. We've got lots of grass here. It's very
Yep.
nutritious. But these are just an added extra to
Yeah.
keep them sort of friendly towards you. And through winter as well, we'll give them a bit extra.
And how do you feed them? Do they come up?
Yeah, just give it all shake and
Yeah.
watch them run.
Do you have you named?
Oh, yeah.
So you know every single
Yeah.
name? No.
This is my oldest sheep. This is Horatia.
Horatia.
That's Penny.
Here they come.
That's Buttons. There we are.
Oh my goodness, they're literally all coming. Look at this, look at this one running.
That's Rosie.
Rosie,
That's big old Rosie to
How do you-
Benita Lolita.
how do you keep track of their names?
Well, it's like your children, really. That's Miss Eglantine. She's really old. She's my second oldest.
She's your second, how old is
Yeah.
she then?
She's 14.
She's 14.
Yeah.
So that's
There we go.
considered old in sheep years.
I mean, yeah, generally sheep don't really get past 9 or 10.
Oh,
So
oh my
she's
goodness.
doing really
So
well.
She's fantastic. And she's very active there too.
What we could do, we could put them in their troughs if you like. We can
Yeah.
top up.
Okay,
Let's top
brilliant.
Up. Right. You start at one end to fill the trough and I'll meet you in the middle.
And just a little bit in each of them,
Yeah, just stick them all out.
Here they all come. How brilliant.
All done.
How
There you
brilliant.
go. They love their food.
And they're all healthy.
They're very healthy, yep.
You've nursed them back to life, really.
Yeah. Some have really horrible injuries, but yeah, they can all come, if you spend the time and the effort, they all come good again.
So you're still rescuing?
Yeah,
If you
still
hear
rescuing, yeah.
or somebody contacts you, you'll take another...
There's two commercial farms around here, and in lambing time they'll often have an orphans, or they'll have a mum that's lost their lambs in delivery, and they don't want to keep the mum anymore because she's not a good breeder for them.
Right.
So she'll come here in sort of retirement, really, like a luxury retirement home.
Yeah, well, exactly. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, look at you get fed. You're on this beautiful estate here. Who wouldn't want to retire here?
Dean's Court and its landscape stand testament to the political upheavals and stylistic changes of generations past. From the foundations of the Saxon monastery led by a royal abbess to the 18th century facade we see today.
Wonderful. Ooh, I love it. And this Georgian door.
Isn't it lovely?
Yeah, it's just
Huge
extraordinary.
Opening Georgian
Wonderful.
door. Yeah.
Right, where are we off to?
Right, let's go and look at the pond.
Fantastic.
Over this way.
It's just so beautiful and calming here. And look at, you have a pond now too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have everything here. Everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
I mean, this is just so lovely. I mean, I would think I would want to swim there. You know, William, I'm a big cold water.
You could do lengths. It's 125 yards.
I'm not sure if I do lengths. I like my 2-minute cold dips. So it's quite cold, I assume.
It is pretty cold. I mean, I've only been in the summer clearing weed, but it's not very deep. It's about 4 or 5 feet deep.
Right,
so
that's perfect for me to do my dunking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
This was probably a Roman reservoir originally, because we had a Roman fort just across the fields there in about AD 45.
Okay.
A huge garrison with 4,500 legionnaires. And we dredged it in 2013. We took 1,000 tons of debris that had all fallen off the trees out, spread it over the field next door, and found huge amounts of stuff. I spent a week in there with a metal detector.
You're kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, so fun. That is so fun.
One of the things that I found is this.
It's a Roman coin.
It's a Roman coin with the head of Claudius.
Wonderful.
Which makes perfect sense because Claudius was the emperor at the time, and he issued a license to the garrisons in England to mint their own coins to pay their armies, which was eminently sensible Roman practice rather than shipping money from Rome to the across the empire. So that was a very nice.
I mean,
interesting
did your
find.
metal detector go? Ting? I mean, was it like?
It was pretty busy, yeah.
Yeah. You must have been so excited when you found this.
Yeah, because that sort of does confirm that this piece of water is pretty ancient.
It's pretty ancient.
Yeah,
well, as is all of Dean's Court, really.
Yeah. But
So-
there have been people living and operating it. Now, this is the other little thing I found.
Okay.
It doesn't look like much, but it's a Saxon dress pin. And the British Museum have got lots of these with that particular design. It's called polyhedral with dot and pin pattern. But they date usually from 600 to 900 AD. So the timing is pretty good for a Saxon pond. And I imagine that what was common was for the Romans when they left reservoirs everywhere because they were obsessed with water, even in a country like England. But
of course. I mean, look at Bath Spa.
Exactly. And of course, when the Saxons sort of took over, instead of digging new ponds, they just took over Roman reservoirs and usually expanded them. And it was very common practice for monasteries to do the same because monasteries needed fish ponds because they had so many days where they couldn't eat meat.
Of course.
So they ate fish. Yeah. But next to the pond here, we've got these two incredible trees. And this is the swamp cypress.
Yes.
Which is 110 feet tall. And next to it, the
enormous,
tulip
gigantic.
tree, which is about 95 feet tall. Two American trees. Which,
anytime I hear the word American, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So why do you have two American trees here at Dean's Court?
That's a very good,
very
good question.
Yes.
We think the only possible explanation is that they were planted here by Thomas Hanham, who sailed to America. When he returned in early 1607, that he brought them with him and he planted them here.
So these are I love doing maths here. Look at me, I'm all about aging everything. Over 400 years old.
415 something, yeah.
And
something like that.
I have to ask this, is there a point that they stop growing? Do they,
Find the root there.
do they continue?
Like all trees, they just carry on growing.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they slow down.
Right, exactly.
But
as long as they're healthy,
yeah,
and they seem very
exactly.
healthy.
You know, the only bit of the tree that's really alive, of course, is the outside bark,
Yes.
the outside
Yes.
wood and the shell.
I mean,
But,
this point of
as
view
you move
is,
back from this swamp stripes, you can see
unbelievable.
it's at least twice the height of the house there. This is an exceptional tulip tree. Usually, they only live for 300-400 years. But at the most. But if they're situated on gravelly soil, and they've got plenty of water like they have here, they apparently in America they will go on for 500 years.
Wonderful.
So hopefully this tree's got another 100 years left.
Hello.
Hi, Julie.
I thought I might find you here.
Yeah, to the morning room. Excuse the chaos.
No, I love,
Excuse the
I've just done a
boxes.
little bit walk around myself, and every room is so different,
Very different.
which is wonderful. And it's like you're walking back into time in some of the rooms. I've just gone from the library,
which
obviously
is the room we've completely redone.
redecorated,
Yeah.
but here, where am I walking into right now?
So you're-
what century?
You're walking into a bit of a mixture in here. You're walking into a room that was, the wallpaper goes back to 1868 and the painting is 1930s. It's the one room we're not really quite sure what to do. We absolutely love it. We've just taken the carpet up because it was completely moth-ridden. The original carpet that was put down in here. The painting, absolutely beautiful, but then you can see, look at the ceiling and the beautiful moulding.
Yes.
But it's, if we just painted the ceiling, it would look ridiculous. You suddenly have this bright white ceiling. It would emphasise actually how grubby and stained the wallpaper is.
But I am really noticing though, so basically I'm in a room of 19th and 20th century, kind of a mix match of the two of the centuries.
Yes.
But what's extraordinary is just all of the
Yeah,
painting.
absolutely
that's-
beautiful.
The detail.
Yeah, so Cordelia, who came to the house, lived in the house from sort of 1900 to about 1948, came with lots and lots of money after the 20s. She had lots of money and started redecorating. And she, in the early 1930s, would have commissioned a decorator, but when sort of everyone was into painting and colour and special effects with the paints and stippling, and that's exactly what these beautiful doors. So she obviously decided to leave the wallpaper in here, which is absolutely beautiful, hand painted.
So the wallpaper.
The wallpaper
is
1868.
1868.
Yeah. And in fact, this particular wall here, in William's parents' era, I think it's in the 1980s, they had a big damp problem. So actually they sort of redid this and they cut out every single star that was original and put it onto new paper.
You're kidding
And they
me.
redid this corner.
So they were able to save the stars.
Yes.
They cut them out
and put them onto new wallpaper, because you can
wallpaper.
see that's slightly
you can.
whiter also than, say, the wallpaper over there.
And same with the border here.
Same with the border, yeah. But you can see, look at the deterioration there.
But how do you salvage this wallpaper? Because surely that's something you want to do.
Well, we would love to, but I don't know if we can. I mean, you can't take all the wallpaper off and rehang it. I mean, I think we've got this far. We've got the carpet up. It has turned into rather a box room. We've got to sort this out, obviously, and we will work out how to sort of touch up the lovely, lovely moulding and redo the ceiling somehow.
But what's fascinating about this room is obviously you've got the mixture between the two centuries kind of mashing together. You've got the wallpaper from the 19th century, but then this painting, this
beautiful painting, yeah, that was very influenced by the Charleston era in the 1930s. Vanessa Bell, Virginia Woolf, John Fowler, they all sort of went, they all congregated in the house in Sussex, Charleston, and were painting these beautiful colours, experimenting with colours, experimenting with paints. And I think Cordelia was obviously very influenced, and you can see it's absolutely beautiful. The colours, very, very Charleston, these colours, very 1930s. And, you know, we wouldn't want to change that at all because that is so beautiful.
So she's, you know, that was the period that they would decorate on these sort of the Georgian features that you would have in the house.
The Georgians obviously this would just be completely plain.
Exactly.
They did not like too much colour, they liked it plain.
Right. So it's fascinating that you've got such a mix.
Cordelia's restyling of the interiors here also included commissioning the iconic Liberty store in London to decorate some of the rooms.
And then we go through into the next room. Oh, 2 doors into the next room.
Oh, wonderful, those Georgians.
Yeah, look, those Georgians.
The Georgians, the paneling, and, you know, a couple of doors.
Yes. Into, this is the sort of classic 1930s.
So you can't change this.
No, the colour's so amazing, isn't it?
Ooh, the color is so wonderful. Okay, ooh, what's happening here?
Back to Lottie.
This is a bit of embroidery.
This is fantastic. What a lovely place to do it. All right, so what are you, I'm totally intrigued right now.
Okay, so basically this is a lockdown hobby that sort of grew. It started as a lockdown hobby. It's embroidery, basically. It's all done by hand. And I'm doing at the moment some little Christmas stockings that I'm doing for someone that has all their family's initials on.
How wonderful. So this lockdown project then became a full-time business.
It was a total, like kind of suddenly, because we were all here in lockdown and we had so much time, I just had a go and I literally learnt by YouTube.
By YouTube. Well, we love YouTube.
Yeah. So I started doing it. Then I basically set up a little Instagram account for it. And then it just grew.
But I think it's fascinating also because you're doing what they did sort of 100 years ago, but this time you're creating, you're being a really fast forward businesswoman, which is
trying to be.
Yeah.
No, it is quite, it's been fantastic. And it's been lovely during lockdown actually to do it.
And nice that this room's being used again because it was a bit of a museum, this room, for the wool.
Of course.
Since we've been here, no one really came in here.
I think what's extraordinary is you're taking this lovely craft that's been around, you know, for a long time, but you've modernized it and making it into a business. So it's like this, I love it, this modern working mother. Taking a craft and making a business out of it.
Well, also, that's what's quite nice. It's such a therapeutic kind of like old-fashioned thing to do, but I literally couldn't do it. I've done it without technology. No. I wouldn't have sold anything without Instagram, and I wouldn't have learned how to do it without YouTube.
Yeah. It's the meshing. Just like that room over there was meshed in the centuries, we've got the meshing of here.
Exactly.
Of the same thing happening, sort of 21st century with the 19th century, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. No, and it's so exciting, and I feel now it's kind of like, God, I've found a new kind of business that I can now do going forward with a baby and just wait.
Great. Well, I've got 4 children, and I might be contacting you and commissioning you for something, doing maybe 4 stockings.
4 stockings.
Since we're coming up to that period. Anyway, I will leave you to your piece because I know how important that is, especially when you have a 4.5-month-old.
Lottie's business threads back to another creative woman who lived at Dean's Court. In the 19th century, Amy Hannam, who had been widowed when her husband, Captain John Hanham, was murdered, created beautiful embroidered furnishings. Harking back to its monastic roots, Dean's Court is just a short walk from Wimborne Minster and the historic market town.
Right, no, exactly. You can literally just walk into town. I mean, how extraordinary. I mean, it wouldn't be a complete walk without Buster.
It would.
I mean, so this is lovely though, just walking through here. And then, you know,
it develops your sense of surprise, so rather than just having a straight path into the town.
No, exactly. Yeah. But was it always like this?
No, there was a track. You could just about fight your way through the laurel. We've extended it because this is where the wedding guests, when they arrive, come.
So this is the entrance just for you, is that right? In one sense, this is like your private entrance.
In one sense, yes, exactly. But it wasn't always like this. This used to be the vehicular, the car entrance to the house, and then we followed an avenue of chestnuts, which is still there, and then came out to look at the corner of the house. You know, I was mentioning that Georgian trick of having two sides of the house to look at. There's a story behind this. There was trouble.
There was trouble.
There was trouble, yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I see, so they used, the two crests used to be up here.
Yeah, and these walls were filled in.
And these walls were filled in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was in 1930 there was a big fight with the town over the ownership of the lane. The council came in, laid tarmac down, and Cordelia Hanham, who was the lady of the house at the time, a very formidable character, said, you've laid tarmac down, this is our lane, it belongs to the estate and the house, and it always has. And the council pulled out some bit of legal stuff to try and claim that it was theirs now. And she was absolutely furious because she'd done so much for the town in the past. Her husband built the hospital, she gave allotments to the town, she built the rectory and gave it to the minster, and every time the community needed something, she wrote the cheque.
Right.
And she was furious that they were treating her like this and basically trying to steal a piece of land off her.
Of course.
So what she did was she moved the big white gate that was there up to here, built these two stone piers, moved the fine Hanham griffins, crests onto the top, and she never went into town again. She went in, she closed all her trade accounts, and she literally refused to engage with the community again. The only thing she did do was every Sunday, because she was so devout, was go to the minster, but she built herself a little walkway over there, a walled walkway, which was her own private one with a locked gate to get her as close as possible to the minster.
So she was furious.
Yeah, but she had
because
a problem.
Because of this, right here.
Because she had a problem though, because she couldn't get to the nearest place to go shopping and do business was Poole.
Right, yeah. I was about to say, how did she do her shopping?
Without having to drive all the way around the town to get to Poole, she couldn't get there because the River Allen runs across the land here and is in the way. So she solved that by building that very fine bridge over the Allen and extending the drive 500 yards down to the road to Poole. And then she built a very pretty little lodge, a bungalow lodge, and two more piers like this with very fine wrought iron gates. And
that was it. So that was her exit. She just couldn't. She couldn't even drive through the town.
She couldn't bear to have anything to do with them.
Extraordinary, the lengths people go to when they're furious.
Yeah, I mean, but heartbreak for her.
She was a flame-haired lady,
right.
and she was. I think she was not to be trifled with.
No. And so presumably there was a huge gate here then.
There was a big vehicle gate here, and there was a little pedestrian gate there, pretty little white gate.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've opened this all up now.
No, the court. She was taken to court, or she took the council to court. And the judge sat there and scratched his head and thought, God, I don't know how to resolve this. So he basically said, you've got to take the gates down, but the ownership of the lane is sort of still in question, and we've never really resolved it since then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
What's
it was, there was no judgment.
I think with the yellow lines, we can say the council.
Her barrister.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. She withdrew from the case, and I think that infuriated her even more because her barrister said, you're probably not going to win.
Oh my goodness.
But then she also, in 1932, built this gorgeous squash court for her son, John, who was a mad sportsman. And then she built these two 1930s garages. And then when we came here 12 years ago, this was all completely derelict. It was literally overgrown, just a farm gate here, and just came in. The squash court was structurally quite sound, but completely derelict on the inside.
So then did you have thoughts of what you wanted to do
I
with
was by slightly starting to miss my antique shop in Gloucestershire and was saying, with my shopkeeper's hat on, saying, this would make a fantastic shop because it's just right on the corner of town. This would make a fantastic shop. So actually we did we'll take you inside, we did quite as a basic restoration on it.
It's wonderful.
And then a year later, I kept looking at this 1930s garage.
Yes, which was also derelict, is that right?
Well, no, my father had an old Bentley which he kept in there. He'd stopped driving it for years and years and years, and it was sitting there just sort of rotting away.
Right.
And so in 2013, we turned it into our little cafe.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this is good morning, Anna.
Good morning.
Hi, Anna.
Anna's just set up all the cakes, all the delicious homemade cakes.
I think it's brilliant, though, Ali, what you've done, taking this and really thinking outside the box. Here it was a garage, and this is the contemporary progressive owners of these historic houses. You're the perfect example of one of them, thinking like, what can we do with it? Let's make it into a cafe.
Asset.
Use every asset. Why tear it down when we can use it for to make something like this?
Yeah.
Can I order something hot?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Can I have just a black Americano?
Yeah, black Americano.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Americano for the American.
Do you want a piece of cake?
Yeah, you are.
I will have one later. I think I'm going to be having some lunch here, so I will definitely have that. Okay, perfect. Thank you so
welcome.
much. Just
See you
wonderful,
later.
wonderful to
See
see.
you later.
Okay.
Yeah, so come over and see the shop.
With her knowledge and background in antiques, Ali has furnished the cafe with such style, echoing the 1930s.
So this is our shop. Hi, Alex.
Lovely.
This
Hi.
is Julie.
Hi, so nice to meet you. So this was the squash
This
court.
was the squash court.
Can imagine it.
That in 1932 was built.
Yes.
And it was probably left from, I think people often come in here and say, oh, I played squash in here once. So probably from about sort of the mid-80s, 90s onwards.
Right.
It was just derelict, literally. Everything that could rot had rotted. All the wood, all the floor,
Yep.
the doors, the balcony, the staircase. And it was like a fernery, literally. It was just had sort of plants growing in it, which actually looked rather atmospheric. But
Right. So then you walked in.
We
and you
walked in and I thought, oh wow, this would make the most amazing shop.
So Ali, are you doing all the buying then?
Yeah, I do all the buying, yeah. And I try to buy as much locally in Dorset as possible. So little soap makers and candle
Yes.
makers and all the people doing their different trades down here. But also I go to some of the trade fairs in Paris and London. And then I go to India once a year
Do
for
you
about
really?
a month. Yeah.
Wonderful. And what are you sourcing from India?
Well, India, it's the scarves and the silks and
Yes.
the lovely rugs. And yeah, we come back, Alex, with all sorts of things, don't we, from India? Yeah.
Oh, this is brilliant. What wonderful space and wonderful shop. And
It's a good use for an old squash court, isn't
Well,
it?
it's really wonderful what you've done, Ali, is, you know, coming in to Dean's Court and really putting your mark on this, saying, okay, here's a derelict building. Let me do something about this with your background in antiques and buying and creating a shop for the community and
I couldn't
to enjoy.
I couldn't bear the thought of it being pulled down.
Just a short walk from the house, on the banks of the River Allen, William and his friend Guy spend mindful afternoons fly fishing for wild brown trout.
How do you know it's a Gregor?
Because it says so on the tin. But
I hope I'm not gate crashing.
No, just a bit of fly talk.
A bit of fly talk.
Yeah, yeah.
And, well,
Just-
I've come prepared, I think.
Oh my God!
Yeah, they're
You are
enormous.
so ready.
But
Yeah.
apparently this is what you need to
That's
fly
what you
fish.
That's what you need.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Waiters
That and a few flies
and a flute.
and a few trout.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
really like to
Wow.
get that.
And
Yeah.
a clear
Trout.
river.
One,
Yeah.
two. Okay, so I've done fly fishing once before,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I didn't catch a thing. Is that normal?
Yes.
Yes. That's
Especially if you're with us.
And with a slightly muddy river today because there was so much rain yesterday. So
That
the
is a
river
problem
not
actually,
quite
because it's like we're fishing on sight, so the whole point is to be able to see them through the clear water.
Oh.
And as it's completely cloudy, it's a bit difficult to know where the fish are.
But I
Okay.
think
Because you normally stalk them, you find a fish and then kind of stalk it.
And then you stalk it.
So
so
with
now
a-
it's just gonna be down to luck.
So now it's down to potluck.
Okay, down
Yeah.
to potluck. Okay.
okay. So you're going to wade her up. Take a chair.
I'll take a
A
chair.
rocking chair's not going to work.
No.
No.
But where are your waiters? I thought this was
We're
the...
going to sort of watch you.
Are you just so seasoned as
Guy-
trout
Guy's gonna
fishers that
direct
you
you.
don't even need waiters anymore?
Absolutely. Years and years of doing nothing but fish.
That you don't need the waiters anymore. I mean, they are rather spectacular, though.
Beautiful
aren't they?
waders. God,
Very
look at that.
grown up.
I know.
Thermal lined as well. Wow.
Listen, I need to come prepared. Woo! Look at this. And what are these dangling things for?
That's to strap them on if you want, but
No, I think that's meant to attach to something that you probably should have higher up, like a waistcoat
Maybe
or
it's
something,
when I,
to keep
you know,
to keep them up.
When I land a fish.
Yes,
maybe
you can
it's
hook
the-
one on
Hang on
each
that.
I can
side.
hook it on each side. Now that would
Yeah.
be a photo, right?
That would be a
I
photo.
could, okay, brilliant.
okay. So you've got
Okay.
you've got the waders on.
There we go.
Just gonna,
You've got a couple
now,
of
how many
rods.
years have you both done fly fishing?
About 10 years,
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
mean,
you're,
Guy,
so you're
once a year.
semi-professional then.
once a year.
but Guy and I cleared this river when we arrived here. It was almost grown over. you couldn't fish it at all. So he and I
did
got
actually restore
stuck
it.
in together, spent a long time
And it's amazing.
clearing it.
If we did a little, nature did quite a lot for us after that. It was an extraordinary experience, actually.
Okay.
Do I need a rod?
Yes.
You're gonna,
Okay.
we'll carry it for
Okay.
you. We'll be your ghillie.
That's brilliant. Thank you both very much. Okay.
So probably, Julie, the best thing is if Guy gives you a little demo,
Right.
and the best place to do casting is in a field, not next to the river, because there's less to catch.
Okay.
There's less
yes.
things for the fly to get caught on.
Okay.
So if I let Guy give you a little
Okay.
run through, I'm going to keep out of the way.
Right.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'll just give you a very quick demonstration.
Okay. Should I stand clear?
Yeah,
of the...
yeah, I'm just going to quickly just do a cast or two and then kind of get you to do the same. So
just gonna-
the idea is to get this tiny fly, imitation fly that we have on the rod, on the
Right.
line here,
Right.
is to get it out into the middle of the field and projecting it as far as possible, which is why we use a slightly heavy line to give us some weight. So the idea is to come back sort of like you're answering a telephone call, just at 90 degrees to your ear, no further, because if you take it further, the line will drop behind you. We want to keep the line in the air behind us and then pull on this as it's coming forward. So just like this. So we go back and we pull a bit on this, and we're using the line now to get out as far as we can to where the
So you're
fish.
pulling this
to where
back
the
towards you.
Yeah, just slightly like that, and then up to here
Hello.
and then forward again, sort of moving forward until you find your final destination,
Okay.
where the fly should drop down in front of the fish, and then you bring it back to the bank. Okay, so you give it a whirl. So there we are. You take the rod. Are you right-handed?
I am right-handed.
Okay. So
Where's my fly?
it's here, the red.
Is it supposed to look like a fly?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
This doesn't, because it's got a bit of felt on the
Right.
barb to stop it coming back and
Oh.
hitting us.
oh, okay, phew.
But
So
there
I'm gonna
is-
bring it back like I'm
bring
saying
it-
hello. And I
yeah.
might say hello, it might help me.
Okay. And let the line go behind you,
Okay.
and then pull and go forward. Just a gentle.
Hello?
That's it. Okay. And then back again,
Okay.
because you're going to do it lots of times to feed the
So I'm
line
gonna do
out.
lots of times. I'm gonna do this several times in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The same thing.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Hello?
And then forward again.
I didn't pull it.
You didn't pull it.
Hello?
And that's, whoops. Now the heavy lines sort of come down through the rod. Let go of the line.
If it's this difficult on dry land, I don't think the trout have anything to worry about when I wade into the water.
Don't flick it. And remember, what we're trying to do is imitate fly life. So when that fly lands on the river, it needs to be really gentle, like a real one. So you just want to almost feel like gently.
Okay, okay.
Better.
It felt better.
It was getting there. The only thing that made it go slightly sideways was you just got a breath of air, which is every fisherman's nightmare, every
Okay.
fly
Can
fisherman's
I do
nightmare.
it one more time?
Yeah.
I think I've done it. You think it's okay? Okay.
Yeah, it's getting there. And let it go. That's it. So there you go. And it landed, although you didn't, well, we don't want to go far, but it landed nice and gently.
Gently. Okay. I think I'll end on that one.
Well, it's definitely a high.
I mean, it's an improvement from
From
you
the
know,
first
from 5
one.
minutes ago.
Yeah,
Right.
massive. We didn't need
Massive
to untangle anything.
Exactly.
And if there's been a fish there, it would have eaten it. It would
That's
have
right.
done.
That's right. I've succeeded with not tangling it up.
This tranquil landscape is beautifully unspoiled and bursting with wildlife. I can absolutely see why William and Guy enjoy spending time here.
So this might be a nice little spot to try.
It's lovely, and it
Yeah,
has a bench.
It has
For those
a
of us
bench,
who
yeah, so you can
won't
take
be
a.
fishing. But is it safe to go in?
It should be
'cause
because
it's so
this is a shallow bit.
But this is a chalk stream.
This is a chalk
chalk
stream,
stream.
yeah. This is a very special type of waterway, and it's very unlike the usual what we call coarse rivers that you see everywhere. chalk streams are fed by springs, which from rainfall that comes down through the falls on chalk downlands, is filtered through the aquifer and then comes up in springs and then forms a river.
Oh my goodness.
Rather than being fed by runoff from fields, which is why all other rivers are usually this colour because they're fed by, you know, muddy, silty water. But when a chalk stream is looking really good, it's absolutely crystal clear because it's fed by this filtered, very, very pure, nutrient-rich water.
So you can drink the water?
Drink it, yes. But not only that, it attracts a huge amount of wildlife because there's an enormous amount of invertebrate life going on at the bottom of the chalk stream. And then you're going up the food chain, you've got the fish, then you've got the birds that come for the fish, the otters, and all sorts of things. So these chalk streams are absolute habitats for everything. And some people call them the rainforests of Great Britain. And the interesting thing is that because we've got so much chalk in the southern part of this country, we've got about 76% of the world's chalk streams in England, and about 50% of them are within 30 miles of here.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, they're a really rare resource, and people fly in from all over the world to fish for trout, brown trout on these streams here. And we are right in the centre of some of the best fishing in the world.
So when you're fishing for trout, you obviously want to go to chalk streams, but you want to be able to spot the fish first, so you're not just, you know, going in it blind
you're not.
And hoping for the best.
No, you're finding a fish and then you're like stalking that fish. So as when William was just saying, it's gin clear, we walk down the bank and we could, if it was clear now, we could see lots of different brown trout. So you'll look at the fly life of that particular day and that time of year, and then you'll imitate that by putting a fake fly on one of these lines and then try and imitate it again landing on the water. But as you've already seen your fish, so you're just trying to aim just in front of its nose. So that when it floats over.
So it's much more fun than regular fishing.
It's better than just watching
it's like
a float.
Sport.
It's like a proper sport.
Yeah.
But a really, really good fly fisherman will only spend 50% of his time fishing. He's sitting there on benches like this, watching the fly life, watching the fish, seeing where they're rising, what they're rising for, and watching their behaviour.
And then
you're just trying to imitate exactly what's happening in wildlife.
But you're outwitting the fish.
That's what you're outwitting the fish, which is rather fun. So can I see you do a little cast
We
there,
can
Guy?
do a little casting, but it's going to be hit and miss, obviously,
I know, because
we can't see.
But I still have to see your,
I'll get out of your way.
extraordinary skill of casting. I have to get in, and it's safe. What? Did you get one? Oh my gosh, I thought you got one.
Afraid not. And all
brilliant.
the fish that we catch here, we catch and release now.
Right.
So everything that we catch goes back into the river.
Fantastic.
Which is great, I think.
Yeah, which is great. It's just.
I think that's right. It doesn't take anything out of the sport.
And then it was time to put the waders to the test.
Ooh.
Is it deep?
It's a bit muddy at the side.
Okay. I mean, they're working. I just want to,
Don't go here.
Don't
There's
go
a
where?
pool there. So go straight.
Straight up. You sure?
Yeah. I know
This
it pretty
stream,
well.
I should say, okay. Like, I'm not going to just all of a sudden plunge to my.
Yes.
You need a rod, don't you?
Okay.
Where is it? Is
Well,
it
to look professional.
It's quite
Where's
fun.
your?
Okay, wait. Ooh, it's quite. I mean,
Yeah.
the current. Hold on. Okay, I'm just gonna. Do you think that this is good?
This is great.
It's great.
Take a rod.
Yeah. So I really look like I'm
Sorry,
doing
Willie.
it. Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna.
That's it.
No.
But you could
I'll
flick
just
it around.
pretend.
Yes.
I'll just pretend.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to.
Shut your eyes and do the Zen
That's
thing.
right. I'll do the Zen thing. It's my yoga.
There you go.
So here's my thumb. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, that went straight. Exactly.
I like the hello.
It's looking good.
Like that.
That's great.
And then I'll just let it kind of sit there.
The only thing,
Lovely.
and fish upstream.
Oh. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Gosh, but you could really spend hours here, couldn't you?
You could, and people
actually,
do.
You tune in to the wildlife and the flies and everything, standing in the river with it going in and around your legs. Quite often you'll be standing there and fish will be like swimming in and around you.
I mean, that's incredible.
And then you've got the joy of all the other wildlife. We've got a pair of kingfishers.
I really could spend hours here. I can see how many people spend many hours here because you're not just trying to catch that fish, you're trying to find a little bit of peace.
Yeah, you're immersed in it, and it is a bit like meditation
It
because
is.
you're so concentrating on the
It's
one
so incredible.
object in mind. So, Julie, there's just one little part of the house I'd love to show you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no.
Down in the cellars.
Please, yes,
so
please.
down the spiral staircase.
So
In-
this spiral staircase,
This spiral staircase was the one that was used by the staff pretty much exclusively. They weren't allowed to use the main staircase, but they could get from the cellars all the way down here, all the way up through the house, right up to the top. It's quite a steep climb.
yeah,
but,
that is a steep climb.
yeah.
It's quite
Yeah, exactly.
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Now we're heading.
we're going to
this
head
is like a maze.
to the other corner of the house.
Okay, I'll
Just
follow
me.
you.
The cellars run all the way through the house, and they were a very important part of the function of the house, particularly when it came to food, because a lot of meats were cured here, they were brined or they were hung, and there were stores, that's the apple store in there. These are all really food storage rooms or food preparation rooms, and there is
It's
one
vast.
room. Yeah, it goes on throughout the whole house. But this is the Saxon bit. We're now coming out into the Georgian bit, and you'll see they sprung the arches off the old Saxon bit. And this little piece of wall here is the only exposed bit we've got. So this is the outside of the house that was built in 705 or thereabouts.
Oh my goodness.
So you can see, and
The
this
outside of the house. So when I was standing in the hall, I was standing in the
Yeah.
middle of where this wall would have been.
when we were standing in the hall, we would have been essentially on what you call the second floor, because you'd had to go up. But,
Yes.
but because this was an undercroft. But, and you'll notice here where we've scraped out a bit of brickwork here. This is an old window that was blocked up by the Georgians, and there's the lovely stone lintel there. And you can just make out the outline of the ancient window.
How
and you can see that
wonderful.
there's a whole mixture of different types of stone here, so they didn't mind what they used. A lot of it is what we called heath stone, because there's a lot of sandy heath around here. And of course it was fairly light to transport and it was easy to build with.
Right.
But there could well be some Roman stone in here because they would just quarry anything that they came across.
1,300 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. I'm so pleased I got to see this. That is just,
Yeah.
that is a real treat.
Just like the fictional Downton Abbey, historic homes once functioned with housekeepers, footmen, and butlers tending to the needs of the family. Here at Dean's Court, the basement is a warren of rooms where meals were prepared and food stored. After harvesting the wonderful organic produce from the kitchen garden, James is busy preparing supper. I'm supposed to be helping him.
I'm trying to find James right now, but I'm rather interested in exploring down here as well. So I shall just follow. Oh, there's another one. I'm going to follow the smell, but before I've got to try to get into as many rooms down here. Look at, obviously, wine cellar, recycling, excellent, but wonderful. Wine cellar, oh, so fun. I mean, this would be brilliant for hide and seek. Actually quite scary. No, there's more rooms in here. I mean, I love going to downstairs of these historic houses because there's so many rooms. It's quite extraordinary. Oh, there comes the light. Not sure what this room was used for, but obviously this one's used for billiards now. But it's just extraordinary how many rooms there are. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my goodness. It's like a treasure trove in here. Look at this old carriage. This is really filled with real Dean's Court treasures here. I mean, I would have a heyday here. All right, this is where the smells are coming from. I found you. I mean, it was so easy because it smells amazing. And oh my, it's beautiful.
So yeah, cool.
So what are you making then for?
So we've got the beetroot that you picked earlier. So this is going to be like a beetroot chutney. So got loads of nice spices and some lentils and stuff, so that would be like a nice dipping chutney.
Lovely.
Then we've got some tomato-based sauce here, which we've used some of our own spices. So the coriander and fennel went to flour, and then I've harvested the seeds and used them in some of these dishes. And then we've got a dal at the back. So here are all the other veggies we harvested earlier.
Oh my goodness!
So
Cauliflower.
the cauliflower, this is your celeriac.
Celeriac.
your
Kale.
And then this is a butternut squash, which I harvested before, but these are going to go in with the dal at the back. And then these ones are going to just sort of be dressed up with some of the herbs, parsley and stuff from the garden.
Oh my goodness, what a feast.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is fantastic.
Yeah, no.
Wonderful. Okay, so what can I help with?
So there's some aubergines just over there, so if you want to just slice them up, and then we'll pop them in with the tomato sauce, and then 15, 20 minutes we'll be good to go.
Okay, wow,
Cool.
Fantastic. Should
Awesome.
I'm just
Oh,
going to
yeah, have a
quickly
little
wash my hands.
Yeah, cool.
So is there like a particular way to slice up the aubergine?
They've already been roasted, but literally we just want to slice them into pieces like that big.
Okay.
So you can do a few at a time.
Okay,
And
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So this is
literally it.
going into the tomato
sauce. So that's
sauce.
got, some of the spices from the garden
and these are all your recipes.
a mixture. Yeah. I get inspired. I did some travelling in India when I was 5 years ago or so, and that's it's the food I most like eating. My girlfriend's vegan, so it kind of like spices make vegetables taste better.
They do. They do. Spice
So
it
it's good
up.
to go. So you can chuck that straight on in with these tomatoes.
Okay.
Cool.
Fantastic.
And you give them a nice
Give it a
stir,
good
get all
stir.
that flavour.
Oh, lovely. I mean, the smell is. Smell is pretty darn amazing.
Yeah.
So I know that the taste is going to be outstanding.
And then at the back here, we've got the rice. And I forgot to say earlier, I picked some of the fig leaves from the fig tree. So we've actually got fig leaves in there.
No.
And hopefully they've got a slightly coconut flavour. So I've literally just cooked it as you would cook rice with a few fig leaves in. And we'll see.
Fantastic.
That's an experiment. So.
I like that experiment. But why would the fig bring out a coconut flavor?
I'm not sure. It's really strange. Sometimes different parts of a plant have flavours reminiscent of other things. It's like eating the thing we're not used to eating sometimes can yield, something a bit different. So.
Well, brilliant. Well, Thank you, James. I'm so glad I found you. I was down exploring. And it's extraordinary down here, but I was obviously drawn to the smell of the kitchen. So brilliant. So I'll see you then later.
Upstairs shortly.
Upstairs shortly for dinner.
Lovely.
Great. Thanks, James.
Bye.
My visit to Dean's Court has quite simply been amazing. I've loved every second, and it's topped off with a wonderful organic feast in the dining room.
But can I just say a huge thank you to all of you for just really welcoming me here with such open arms, letting me sort of, really spend a full day out. I mean, just from the beginning, learning a little bit about the history of Dean's Court, your ancestors, but also, that this goes back 1,300 years. I mean, that still blows my mind. But also that this house has been in your family for nearly 500 years. And then Allie, just looking at all the things that you've created here and, the kitchen garden, it's for you to find peace in and calm, but also your passion about. Lottie, I'm not just saying this, but just finding Lottie in that beautiful room, embroidering with the sunlight coming in and just bringing a pastime back to life, if you like, but also creating a business out of it. As I think it's just empowering women who are mothers as well, and especially young mothers, and that's not a lot of sleep. You're constantly, do you know what I mean? Right, you're feeding, it's a lot, and then just to find something that you were, really immersed yourself in over lockdown through the YouTube videos, and then now you've created this business. To me, it was just something beautiful about seeing you in that room that I really loved. It's just extraordinary.
Got a drink to that, thank you.
Cheers.
To the American Viscountess.
Exactly. To Dean's Court.